from Seoul, Korea, and welcome to the WCS Korea Season 2 Finals. I'm Tasteless with me is Artosis. What's up, dude?
Well, let's see, Tasteless. It's the finals,
yes.
And we have an insane couple of storylines. Either we get the youngest OSL champion and a Royal Rotor in Maru. And that would actually beat, I believe it's Flash's record on OSL wins. Still a little bit older than life. We'll see if maybe Maru next season or the season after could beat that record. But probably not.
Probably not.
But, you know, it's either going to be that very young champion, that champion that's a Royal Rotor, or it's going to be a two-time in a row OSL champion. And Protosses don't normally win tournaments, right? Especially in Korea. So
especially in Korea. Protosses have not been very dominant. Let's talk for a second about this. It's so weird that Maru is here in the finals. I don't think anybody predicted this. I don't think Maru predicted this.
A lot of upsets this season for sure. A lot of players coming out and playing like 100 times better than they ever have. Players like Bomber and Maru. And to have Rain actually just kind of get through everything with his very solid, strong, macro defensive style, you know, I think he's in kind of a good place here.
Yeah, you know, it's been an amazing tournament so far. I think there's been more upsets in this than anything we've casted in a good while. Am I wrong about this?
No, there have been more upsets in this tournament than a restaurant after bad sushi, Tasteless.
This has been a wild tournament. Now, Rain, I got to predict that this guy should win in a best of 7.
Yes.
But, you know, when Maru beat Innovation, I guess you can expect anything. If you missed the other games of the tournament up until just now, you know, Maru really cheesed hard against Innovation, which is fine. I mean, you got to do what it takes to win.
3 all-ins in a row in a normal game. It was really well done.
I think by game number 4, Innovation was basically broken.
Oh, he was, definitely. There's no question about that, Tasteless. He was going to lose that series after those first 3 games no matter what.
Yeah. So, as you can see, it's packed here. This is a big deal. History is going to be made by the end of tonight here. Artosis, your predictions?
I'm going with a Rain with a 4-2.
I'm going to go with a Rain with a 4-1.
Okay.
But we'll see. You know, one fundamental problem for Maru going into this is that, okay, he could cheese out Innovation, but obviously Rain's going to be anticipating something like that here. And the only way that you can do something that dramatic, cheese 3 times in a row, for instance, is when your player thinks, no way in hell would this guy try to do this to me.
Indeed, Tasteless. Well,
as you can see, this is a piggybacked broadcast.
Yes.
So we're not in control of when the game starts. The players aren't here in our studio. This is actually being done by on GameNet. So
they're actually down the road at Coex. So that's like very, very close by.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of funny. We're not on that location, but we're down the street from it.
We've been doing this for casting professionally for years, but this is the first time for GOM where we're actually on the main stage here. We have an audience here in front of us. This is the first time we've actually done this in Korea. Do you realize that? We've never actually in Korea broadcasted in front of an audience before. We're normally up.
Yeah, I guess
we're in some broom closet somewhere. You know,
I guess that makes sense.
Watching the game and tickling each other.
That's about it.
That's about it. But no, it's been a cool tournament just for us to cast. A different experience for sure.
Yeah.
But this finals, by the way, really, really interesting.
Well,
I honestly, personally, never saw Maru being somebody who would be in the finals.
Yeah, I thought he probably would eventually, over time, get there. Because when you start that young, right, you just get better and better and better.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things to factor in here, especially with Korea professional gaming. First of all, these guys train hardcore, sometimes, you know, for 12 hours in a day. That becomes a little bit more difficult when you get older, get more of a social life. And then on top of that, you know, there's compulsory military service for 2 years for every able-bodied Korean. So if you start at a very young age, you have a lot more time to spend. And it's kind of Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour rules. You know, they just have enough time to grind it out so that they can get that good. So that is a very fair observation. He starts out young. And he's got an edge.
You know, I have to kind of bring up this other part because before with Life, when he rose up very young, we saw a lot of similarities to how Jaedong rose up in Starcraft 1, where it's like this aggressive Zerg, he's killing all these legends. Sometimes he drops some games to some lesser guys. But there was a good amount of similarities, even their play styles. Now with Maru, I do have to draw a correlation with Flash, because actually when Flash made his first deep run in the OSL, a lot of it was through cheesing better players. because he was
you actually
very
make
young.
a very good point there, Artosis.
He was super aggressive that season. He was doing a lot of cheeses, got really deep, and everyone was like, well, I mean, we know he's very good, but
he's good, but he's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, not yet.
And they were wrong.
And, well, that was the beginning of Flash. So I'm just saying, Maru is kind of mirroring that in some ways.
Maru's a player, historically, as we've casted him, he is very much like a prime team player. The prime guys are known to engage and win with tactics more so than strategy. They're these players, a lot of times, especially, I think Marine King's the best example of this, but Maru's kind of overshot even Marine King now.
Yeah.
You watch these guys engage in a situation where I think most StarCraft experts would say you probably shouldn't do that. You should probably play it safe. But he gets in there, he does the damage, he gets out. Excuse me. And it's important to note here, when he beat Innovation, a lot of that was just the cheeses combined with good prime team control. Yeah,
and that's a great way to actually end up planning out how to win. But against Rain here tonight, I don't think that he can be so aggressive and so cheesy.
Well, let's talk about Rain for a second. Rain is the guy that you want to steal his builds if you're laddering, because his builds are very, very safe. They're very conservative. Mm-hmm. They're very well-rounded. There's no dramatic tricks or ploys. There's not a lot of guile to it. It's just conservative defensive play. And for somebody like Maru, who cheesed his way through Innovation, you got to ask yourself, can he really do that against Rain? I don't think so. I'd say maybe one game, but I think if Maru's going to win this today, it's going to have to be through more standard play.
And, in fact, I want to go even further than that. I think he should go for almost economical cheese, or what we more now often call
like
greediness.
3 command centers or something off 1 rack, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think he needs to kind of mask his builds and play the greediest macro
games. That is
games.
a really good point, Artosis. I really like what you're saying there, because, when you get somebody who's conservative, they're always going to probably get a robotics facility, get an observer out. Yeah. What you want to do, is do something so greedy that by the time they find out what you're doing, you're already ahead.
And, the thing is, Rain likes to take the bad end of the economy. Like, he'll play that extra safe style.
He'll play from a disadvantage.
He'll take 1 forge instead of 2. He'll get his second and third gates, like, every time very quickly. He doesn't cut any corners in that way. And that's what makes him so good against any type of cheese. That's why you can't really kill him. So if you go in the complete reverse, where he's playing safer than most Protosses do to make sure he doesn't die to cheese, if you get super, super, super greedy against that, I think that's going to be the best way to do it. And I think here, because we always talk about how cheesing in game number 1 is very nice, it's very smart. But
especially in a best of 7.
Yeah, I think like the first 2 or 3 games, Maru should do the greediest, most ridiculous greedy.
Maybe throw like a cheese in like game number 4 or 3 or something like that.
Because by then, Rain, if he's lost 1 or 2 games, he's going to be like, well, I have to start cutting a few more corners. So at that point, you might be able to get him with the cheese.
Yeah. We're not entirely sure when this game's actually going to start, since this is a piggybacked broadcast. But, again, I think it's going to be just so difficult for Maru to beat Rain here. It's a pretty tall order.
It is, but we'll see, man. They had a lot of time to practice.
Yes.
Obviously, Maru's going to have some great practice partners to work with, but Rain is scary. He's been here before. He wants to defend and get that second OSL championship, and that's kind of crazy because this is the second OSL in StarCraft 2, so to possibly have won both. And next year he could win the Golden Mouse.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, the OSL is like the oldest StarCraft tournament that there is. So out here in Korea, there's a lot behind that. And by the way, after this, pretty soon we're going to be back with the GSL Code S.
That's right.
I'm really excited to be back casting that soon.
The actual Code S, the greatest tournament in the whole world, we will be back with. I don't know if we've announced the exact start date.
I don't believe we've announced it.
It's okay.
We don't know the exact start date. We'll be. I don't actually, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact start date, but it'll be coming up here, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely come check that out and come down to our studio. It is in the Gangnam area at Samsung Studio, exit number 1.
For the rest of the year, all our StarCraft stuff will have the players here.
The players will be here.
More flashy lights, stuff like that. Korean voices booming through.
Yes, so definitely come check that out. And by the way, get out there on whatever social networking service that you use and tell people to tune in here. where we're at Twitch or at GOMTV.net. Let people know. A lot of people don't know that we're actually covering this. A lot of people think it's just on GameNet exclusively covering this. But if you still want to hear our Toast as me casting, you can definitely tune in there.
Certainly, and please do. And I guess
do the right thing.
If you do, you're listening right now, and if you don't, then you're not. So I guess we're all set.
Then you messed up, but you're not here to hear it. What are you doing? So we haven't been given the order of the maps just yet, but that's going to play a big role coming up here in a best of 7. Because some maps you might say, well, Protoss can do pretty well on a map like this, or this is going to be a tough one for Protoss here. The same for Terran, obviously. And then that's when you might have to try predicting, what strat you're going to use here.
Yeah, I always love looking at the map layout because that can tell you so much about the match, like which sets of maps, because there are things like tempo and kind of you get rolling and you keep going and you feel good and your opponent gets caught off guard by that. But once we see that map pool, we can take a little bit closer look and see if it actually favors one person or the other.
Absolutely. So you're saying he's probably going to cheese or ideally, if you were Maru, you'd cheese in the third or the fourth game?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to do anything like just straight up proxy? Is that a possibility or anything like that?
It is definitely a possibility.
Proximity?
Wow. It's a proximity, man. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. But no, it is a possibility to do something like that. But which type of proxy would it be? Would it be like a proxy starport to get a quicker drop, a proxy factory to try to sneak in with some widow mines,
I think it would probably be something involving some of these drops that we've seen, proxy starports, something like that.
I would say we aren't going to see much widow mine play.
Think so?
My guess. Yeah, I think
actually, I don't think that would work well against Rain.
No, he's always going to have the observer up. So if he's going to do any early tech cheese, I think that it has to be Hellion based, not Hellbat based, but Hellion based.
Yeah, actually,
we'll
could see that.
I mean, you can catch someone off guard if they're not blocking their ramp or something. You run a few Hellions up, they're going to lose a lot of probes.
Especially if we're going to map like Whirlwind, that could be a good map for Maru, especially because not just for the drops, but also for just the big open area.
Yeah.
Maru's very good when it comes to controlling his army and outmaneuvering his opponent. And it's not that Rain's not good at micro, by the way. It's just that, Maru is just so solid.
Yeah.
Rain is one of these guys who will pretty much defend until, the 20-minute marker or something like that, where he says, okay, I have everything I need now. My Protoss army collection's complete. I'm maxed out. I've got all the upgrades, and now it's time to attack.
Yes. I like how you call it the Protoss army collection.
Well,
it's true.
Yeah.
That's actually what Protoss is in this matchup.
Well, it's just Protoss in general. You have to have the perfect unit composition.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you work towards it all game long.
Yeah, and that's why whenever we're casting, if you hear us be like, "Oh, he lost all the sentries," well,
no,
he's probably screwed then. So.
Very true.
We are now joining the game, and map 1 is going to be Acheron Wastes.
Well, Acheron Wastes.
That's a good map to start it on.
Yeah, why not, right? It's.
I think it's pretty fair for both players. Would you agree?
I would lean a little bit Protoss on this. I feel like Acheron is actually
the third is easy to secure.
Yeah, it's really pretty simple. You just kill those rocks, and Terran's not likely to break you when you're on 3 bases.
Here is a closer look at Maru. As you can see, his WCS Korea ranking is now number 7. This is the first finals he's ever been in, by the way.
Yeah, and he's going to the WCS season finals too, so you definitely look out for him there. Korea's sending over 5 representatives.
This is really exciting. This is one of the cooler finals we've been able to cast in the past few years, actually. Just these 2 players here.
It's
nice because a lot of times we get one guy who's clearly the favorite and the other guy's an underdog, and we're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if... And then the guy loses, that underdog loses. But here, no matter what happens, it's an interesting story. It's a cool narrative.
And we don't get a lot of Protosses in the finals. Normally it's Terrans or Zergs up there, and just thinking back to Protosses that have been there, MC's been in the finals 3 times, won twice, lost to Seed another time. Inca, of course, made it and lost to Nestea. But other than that, it's basically just Rain and, Squirtle made it against MVP and lost.
Yeah, very true.
But other than that, those are the only ones that pop to my mind. So, Rain is one of these very few. There's only 2 different top-of-the-world Protoss champions for Korea leagues.
Yeah.
So
now here's a shot of Rain right now. His WCS Korea ranking is number 4. And again, if you guys are trying to learn StarCraft at home and you're playing Protoss, this is the guy you want to copy.
It certainly is. It's the guy I like.
Now here's a question, actually. Is there any chance that Rain will cheese here. I say no. I don't think we're going to see a single game. And I almost never say this where I'm like, well, it's a best of 7. Normally, I'm like, probably have to cheese at least once or twice with the Rain. I don't think so.
I think you're probably right on that, but I think mixing one cheese in would be smart. Maybe just one in the first couple games. And another thing I really want to see out of Rain here today, Tasteless. Like, I've really been thinking about it a lot. I want to see him open up with an Oracle opening maybe once or twice.
Oh, actually, that could be quite good.
Even
a proxy Oracle, I think, might be the only kind of cheese we could see here.
And the thing is, it's not really that cheesy.
Well, yeah, it's we got to be careful, actually, how we throw around the word cheese, because sometimes I'm saying stuff that's not really a cheese. That's a proxy, but a proxy does not mean cheese. Yeah. The cheese, in case you guys don't know, is basically just an all-in. It's where... Yeah, and the easiest example that comes to my mind is when you see the Terran send his Marines, along with all of his SCVs right at the start. That's a cheese. That's an all-in, because there's very few moments where the game actually balances out after that, that you killed almost all his probes and now you have the same numbers. But almost always that means the game's going to end immediately.
It certainly does. Well, about the Oracle openings.
Yeah, please.
I feel like if Maru's going to be super greedy, or even if he's going to tech up too quick, things like that, and Oracle is just kind of useful against that, and it's going to set him on his back foot. You don't see many Oracle openings by Rain. I see it every now and then, but I haven't seen him do an Oracle opening, I don't think, in the last 2 months. So that could be something that really catches him off guard.
Openings have basically gone out of style. We don't see them that much.
Not as much anymore.
Especially in Korea. The foreign scene can be a little bit different, but at least when it comes to the Koreans, no, you don't see that as much.
People got pretty used to them and understood how to defend them.
This is a metagame thing, actually, where it was so strong to go for Oracles early on that forced all the Terrans to change their play style, which made the Oracle openings obsolete. That we might see that come back in here later on, but for now, probably not. But I do think maybe in this best of 7, maybe one Oracle opener.
Yeah, I would really like it. It's just, even if you don't do a lot of damage, you can fly in and you're always going to kill 2 SCVs at least. And then, as long as you don't lose it and keep it alive, you'll pick off a few SCVs here and there, a few Marines here and there, get up to a decent number of kills, and then you can start tagging things, detecting, whatever you need it for. And it's kind of useful. So I think that would really mix up Maru in his plans if Rain were to do something like that.
Yeah, maybe in game 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah, right around there, I think.
Because when you do builds like that, normally you want to do them earlier on before you show them your more.
Yes.
Try to show them what your fundamentals are, because... And again, it's a pretty tricky situation. It really is when you have a best of 7 or a best of 5 like this, because there's so much preparation. There's so many different strats you have to know. And the order in which you reveal them is so important.
It's like throwing smoke bombs and flashbangs and stuff like
shadows
that.
Shadows and mirrors, before, because eventually it's going to come down to one of these games where you both got to play solid. Look what Maru did against Innovation. He cheesed him 3 times in a row to the point where then, when Maru did play solid, Innovation was so off kilter.
Yeah, you get inside their head, and that really helps it out.
So, as you can see, here is Maru and Rain, both 7-3 in their last matchups against their opponent's race in this case.
Pretty damn solid right there, Tasteless. Both players hitting really the best in the world and doing very well against them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting match here.
Yeah. Rain with that loss to Balsh. That's a tough one.
To Balsh, yeah. Oh. That should be Flash, but whatever. That's what happened after he lost. It became a letter salad.
There's definitely a lot of Rain PBTs from this season that Maru could have looked at as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he has planned, because he really did plan well against Innovation. Love him or hate him.
No, you know what I loved about the Innovation game is game 1 was a cheese. The second game was a more dramatic cheese, and by game 3 it was the most dramatic possible all-in.
Yeah.
And then he goes straight to a normal game in game number 4.
It's a really great way to play. But
yeah.
He has to literally do the opposite here against Rain. Innovation's kind of a greedy macro player, whereas Rain is a turtle macro player.
Most of the games we see Innovation lose, he loses to a cheese.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
All right, as you guys can see, they're both pretty consistent as far as how they do as the game goes further and further on.
Yeah, actually, that's quite interesting. Seeing how that works with the...
Normally we got one guy that always wins when you get past 25 minutes, one guy that
You can see
we'll always lose if the game was under 10, stuff like that.
You can actually see at that 15-20 minute mark how Maru peaks and Rain hits kind of a low point. That's really interesting to see because that's like right when a lot of these SCV pulls and whatnot occur. So it's like the hard point of PvT, like the hardest moment in the game, basically.
Here's our map lineup. Akalon Wastes, Anaconda, Bellshear Vestige, Star Station, Newkirk Redevelopment Precinct, Whirlwind, and Wangari Beach.
You know what? Tell me what you think about this, but my first glance at this map pool, I think it's pretty good as far as map order goes for these guys. Like,
well, for which player?
I think it's pretty balanced as far as the map order. Because sometimes you get a set of like 3 hard maps for Protoss or something in a row in the beginning, and it's like, well, that's going to set the stage. But I look at this and it seems like pretty reasonable because I feel like, you know what, if this goes 4-3, it'll probably be like Rain wins Akalon, Maru wins Anaconda, Rain wins Bellshear, Maru wins Star Station, right? And the first 4 maps I feel like are always very important to look at.
Now, in case Maru does decide to do all-ins here, we're starting out on a one-on-one map, so that's something to definitely keep in mind. And it is packed. Not where we are, but they're the young guys are hosting this. This is a piggyback broadcast, but that's a great audience. A lot of people showing up, showing the love for StarCraft 2. And it looks like we are only moments away from getting this game started, where we will find out who will be the WCS Korea StarLeague Season 2 champion. At least I think so. We don't. Okay, we're getting that shot.
Yes.
This is normally a shot. All right,
it
started. This is a tricky thing we do because it's not our studio. I try to time my epic statements with it, and then the game starts. But all right, so it looks like the map is loading, and there's no turning back now. All this preparation for both of these guys comes down to this one moment. Again, our first map is going to be Akalon Wastes. Looks like we got Slayer's Boxer there in the front row.
Yeah. Rain's head coach.
Yep.
There to support him.
Yeah. And as you can see here, it's going to be pretty sick, guys. I'm Tasis. With me is Artosis. We're Tastosis, the Casting Archon, and this is GOMTV.net. All right. Over here in the upper left, he cheesed against Innovation. What will he do this game? We're going to find out soon. He is
Master Maru Prime.
And over here in the bottom right, perhaps the most conservative and orthodox Protoss there is, his ideas.
Grandmaster SK Telecom T1 Rain.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Tasteless. He is so conservative and orthodox
totally
as far as
textbook
Protoss go, that he's almost unorthodox in that way.
You know, what's funny actually is that, most Protoss players are known for having their own styles and being pretty
aggressive
or cheesy,
mixing it up a lot.
It's oftentimes considered to be a race where you have to have a certain number of tricks up your sleeve. Mm-hmm. And Rain is kind of antithetical to that school of thought with Protoss, where you really do have to. In his attitude, is like, no, there's a proper, safe way to play this, and I'm going to show you how.
Yeah.
We'll see how long he can stay on top with that. That's another question as well.
Well, I feel like when you get a Protoss like this, they're the ones that are probably staying on top the longest out of anybody because, it's not just like, well, people figured out how to deal with this type of aggressive play, so suddenly your builds are all bad. This is, if Rain's style ever becomes something that can't work, being a defensive macro-y player, then there's probably something very wrong with Protoss.
Yes, this is very true. So we do have Maru actually doing kind of what we talked about, being greedy early on, the opposite of what he did in the previous set that he had to play in. Now going for a command center here on the low ground. Now I can't emphasize how greedy that is because normally at the minimum you'll make that in your main in case there's some kind of cheese, but he's going all out right now.
Well, he doesn't believe that Rain has it in him to proxy a gateway.
Well, he's basically right. Rain's probably not going to do that.
No, he's probably not. Even if Maru does this every game, I doubt that Rain will proxy a gateway. But this does cause him a little bit of lost mind time having chased that probe away, and he did get to see that at least a couple Raxes are coming up. So now Rain knows that he doesn't need detection early. We'll see if he changes his build around a little bit for this. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do when you realize your opponent isn't going to have stim quickly, they aren't going to have Widow Mines, things like that.
Yeah. So the probe, you just want to keep this alive for as long as humanly possible so we can try to catch, any bit of information that might tell him the direction in which Maru wants to take this game once his economy is up and running. First barracks now finishes, and it looks like the cybernetic score is about to finish as well here.
Yeah, everything looking very good for both players, and the third racks does come down. So, that's something that's become
we saw him
much
do
more
this
popular.
Was it him or was it somebody else we saw do this build?
Bomber did this against
That's right,
Rain.
it was Bomber. Thank you.
It's actually become more and more popular lately. That was the first time I had seen it, but I've been seeing it pop up a lot more recently in Korea.
And but do you have in-game sound in your headset? I don't actually have it. Okay,
you know what? Yeah,
hopefully we'll get that fixed soon here. Because I was when I was like, it feels kind of weird. It feels kind of quiet.
It does.
I'm not used to this.
But hopefully production will get that fixed right away.
Yeah. So I don't even know if do we have sound effects right now?
I don't think so.
Either that or I don't hear anything. But yeah, anyways, the robotics facility is on the way here. And it looks like we're getting that fixed now, actually. Robotics facility is on the way. And again, this is all what we would expect here from Rain.
That's a strong scout right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
He will end up dying, but he sees that this is just 3 racks into a couple gases. Nothing too crazy. It's just kind of the standard what you would expect. And in fact, Rain immediately goes for that Robo. He doesn't care. Oh, wait a minute. He's going for Robo in a Sentry.
Okay.
After one Stalker.
Here's the 3 gates here from Rain.
Can't get much safer, Tasis.
No, you cannot.
But I
this
wonder...
This is StarCraft with condoms on. This is about as safe as you can get, Artosis.
Yeah.
This is very, very conservative play here from Rain, which is what he's known for.
And he's actually... Okay, he's grabbing a couple more gases. So there's 2 possibilities here. We could be seeing him go for an Immortal push, or he's probably going to grab a couple Forges and go Colossus.
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility as well. I would not... the Immortal push could be good. The only problem with that on this map is this this ramp that goes onto the high ground.
Yeah.
It actually makes that push a little bit trickier. Seconds really do count in an attack like that.
This is very true. And he actually throws up 1 Forge and the Colossus tech. And this is what we were actually talking about before, where Rain will take the kind of the more conservative end of everything. I promise you, most Protosses that you see at the pro level will actually take 2 Forges right here.
Yeah, that's very
But
true.
Rain realizes that if he takes 1 Forge and adds a second one a little bit later, then he's going to be even safer against anything that his opponent does.
This is true. And we got the Observer now coming in here. And it looks like Maru is actually prepared for the Observer to come in. Now, really good players will know the exact second on every map that the Observer should get there if they're doing a Protoss doing a standard build, which is what Rain's doing here. So we'll see if he sees a little blur here. Will he scan? Looks like he's actually ready.
Yeah, he was looking for that, and Rain sees it and does turn around. That's really good. If you lose that first Observer...
It's one of the worst things that can happen early game for Protoss, actually.
It truly is. Aside from, losing a bunch of your stuff, it's the single...
Besides, losing your Nexus, yeah, it's one of the things.
It's
actually really bad.
Well, I don't even know what I'd rather lose early on, the Mothership Core or the first Observer. The first Observer is so important.
I think the first Observer is probably the worst thing to lose. And again, guys, that's because so many important things come out of the robotics facility. Colossi, Immortals, Warp Prisms, and of course Observers too, that when you have to make another one, that means you're not making one of those other 3 important units.
And the travel time as well. You may miss. The first Observer gets in there quick enough that you should be able to see any sort of craziness, any shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
And be able to stop it.
All right, so he's getting up to 6 gateways now total. And it looks like he might just do a timing here. We'll see.
We will. Well, he is grabbing Blink as well, so it does, once again, kind of just look like he's going for the macro Blink Colossus play. And I tell you, some Protosses are getting so good at this play. It's rather scary to watch.
It really is. So, also important to note, look at not just the fact that he got the Observer out and kept it alive, how many Observers are actually on the map? Looks like there's 2 now, and he's got them very well placed here.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of Protoss players just go with 1. See, there's 1 Observer now. I believe the other one, where is
the other one is floating in this space to the
bottom?
left of his
I'm sorry.
main.
Yeah.
Those are some great places. He has a pylon above his natural as well, and he's already made a defensive cannon sitting on 2 bases while getting Blink and going Colossus with 1 torch. Like, this is the safest thing you could ever see.
And with this factory out here, what this does, it messes up the AI of the Stalkers because as they move into attack, they're going to end up hitting the factory if it's on an attack move. And that's why we see a lot of Terran players bring the factory out here, because first of all, they're not making anything out of the factory at this point in time in the game, so they might as well use it to scout, to spot, anything.
Yeah, you know what? This is about as standard a game as you could ever find. Like, Maru has done nothing really cheeky, and he's getting his 3rd base actually with a not very greedy timing either. You know, he's just playing a solid game, but that's what Rain is doing as well. He's playing his solid game just as safe as can be. So his 3rd base will be slower, but you can't really kill Rain in this game.
Right. Now the Army's coming out here, a nice scan. And that's going to make those Stalkers regroup with the rest of that army. Now, I would, if I were giving Maru advice, I'd say don't attack into this. I think Rain on 2 base is going to be a little bit too strong and too good at defending. But you never know. You know, Maru is one of these guys who, when he engages, plays very, very well.
That is so true, Tasteless.
Looks like we got a drop coming up here. A big drop, in fact.
That is rather big, and he just skirted the Observer. Oh my god, but look at this. Rain
looks like he's prepared.
Yeah.
Now the question is, will Maru go for it anyways? He's very good at unit control.
That one might be a death sentence if he went for that.
So, yeah.
But look at this play by Rain. Like, I know that I've said several times it's safe, but notice he's even getting the 4th Colossus while going Blink Stalker while transitioning to Storm. And that's the one time where a lot of people die to SCV pulls, is when they sometimes don't get enough Colossus, you know, and he's non-stop on him. It's beautiful play.
We have the hallucinated Phoenixes now being used to just scout around here. He wants to get a good sense of what the timing is for each expansion. Now, Maru has a little bit of an econ lead here. In fact, a little bit of a supply lead here as well at 170 to Rain's 146.
Yeah, and that's once again Rain taking kind of the bad end of things to make sure that he's not going to die. And, you know, this is one of the least action-filled games that I've ever seen from Maru, but he's right to play this way because Rain has not given him any opportunity to do any sort of damage.
Did Zell just die there?
Yeah. Well, he's covered in rocks.
Dangerous stuff, man.
Should have worn his
This is why people need to respect lumberjacks. It's the same kind of dangerous job, you know?
When they're cutting down those rock trees.
You know, You know, actually, lumberjack is supposed to be like one of the most dangerous jobs in the whole world.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
For sure. Those trees are huge, and you're like playing with chainsaws all day long, and you're in the woods. What if some sort of fern gully type situation happens with the bears?
Well, then you cut a tree down on top of them.
I don't know. Bears charging at you, take out your chainsaw.
Like, hold on, guys, I got this.
Comes up and
shouldn't you just fight him with the chainsaw? I'm like, shut up, can't hear you. Chainsaw's too loud. So we got cannons being set up here now at the 3rd base. And you know, Maru has been outside of Rain's base for a while now. I think he's kind of waiting to see if Rain's going to move out, and then Maru can try to engage, surround. But so far, nothing here from Rain. Rain is turtling hardcore.
Certainly is. He has a lot of size storm and a lot of claw size. So, ooh, nice try there. Gets a little bit of damage down. Just starting to weaken everything.
I love this shot. Look at this shot.
Another good storm, too. Look at that little Templar flank.
Yeah.
And look at the minimap right now with how much red there is around. Like, Rain is really, he's got so much scouted, especially on the right side of the map, and even going for his Warp Prism harassment now.
Yeah, and this is exactly what he needs to do because the Terran's army is outside the Protoss' base. This is when you want to start warping units in there. And that's going to force Maru to turn around, but he scans and he sees this army. He opts to continue to run away from it. And we don't have any ghosts out yet, do we? We do not.
No, we don't. I don't think we have. Yeah, it's not even 1 ghost so far. But he does have 10 Vikings, 7 medevacs, so still pretty solid. Rain is moving forward, though. And
all right, he's going to stem this now.
And he's trying to get those high Templars. Not going to work. Beautiful control by Rain. Oh, my God. Nice force fields and awesome storms.
Unbelievable right here. But again, it looks like Rain's going to have to back up a little bit. Doesn't want to lose to these Templars here.
He still has 5 Colossus here, Tasteless. That was so efficient.
Well, those Vikings got badly bruised, right?
Yeah, and look at this.
Oh, nice. And now he's warping Zealots in over here inside of the main here. And that will surely allow Rain to now engage again here at the front if he feels necessary.
You know, he's keeping Maru off of a fourth base, and he's taking his own fourth base. So even though his natural expansion and his third were a bit slower, oh, that would have been huge if he got that, but even though those were a bit slower, he's faster on that fourth and continuing to put on the pressure and harassment.
All right, and engaging over here at the front. Now, here's the fundamental problem that Terran's going to end up facing right now is that Protoss is taking a fourth base, and now with map control going to Rain, how on earth is Maru going to get a fourth base of his own? He might have been better off actually hiding an expansion,
maybe.
The bottom left or something here.
Well, he is continuing warping a lot of Zealots. These hurt Marauders aren't going to do anything here, and Rain knows that, so he knows a big chunk of the army is going to have to go back in, and he pushes back forward because of it.
Nice job here. Takes out the sensor tower. Rain in perfect control so far this game.
Yeah, Rain actually playing basically a perfect game so far.
Yeah, this is basically a perfect
overall.
game.
This is...
We don't hardly ever say that, by the way, guys. Like,
this is actually, if you are a Protoss player and you want to get really good, practice exactly this game from Rain.
Yeah.
This is exactly how PvT should be played at this moment.
All right, nice storms here. And I got to say, I don't know if Maru can actually wiggle his way out of this right now.
Well, there's 6 Colossus. I think it's almost impossible
yeah,
here.
There's just too much here. The Stalker's now coming up, taking out one Colossi, but it may be too late. By the time they've cleaned up all these Colossi, the rest of the ground army may very well be all gone.
And it looks like Maru just barely going to hold for now, but more Psy Storms coming up. Still 3 Colossi left over. Looks like only 2 now, and not a lot of ground units, but
wow.
That is it.
Whoa. That was actually really scary. That was like, that's like Skynet Protoss right there.
Yes. That was basically perfect Stalker Colossus play. Like, the way that he kept making Colossus, the way that he very carefully and slowly took his third base. He even got defensive cannons when he was on 2 bases, turtling with Blink Stalkers tasteless.
It was really nice.
I expect to see that exact game several more times
If I'm Maru right now, I am intimidated. I mean, that was some very solid play.
Maru opened up completely standard and normal, right? He did something, basically a build that you're seeing all the time right now. Wasn't really greedy in any ways.
Yeah.
I think that he needs to go to the extremes, because I don't think he can stand toe-to-toe with Rain in that type of situation.
We have Maru reflecting on that last game, and you and I especially, since we played Starcraft for so long, we know what that feels like, where you play against somebody and it feels like there's nothing that you could have done.
Yeah.
They just absolutely played perfectly.
It is hard to imagine with that strategy that Maru chose, what could he have done? There was never an opportunity to do harassment damage.
Yeah.
You know, once he actually got his units up, he took his third. Rain's third was much slower.
Yeah.
Maru's upgrades were slightly ahead. It's just, it's a rough one.
Looks like our next map is going to be Anaconda. We have both players now inside the game, so we will be starting this pretty soon, I believe. Again, this is piggyback broadcast, so we don't have that much control over when the game starts or anything like that.
Something like no control, in fact.
Yeah.
Maybe if they accidentally gave me control of the lobby, I could start the game, but they'd probably make us restart. So,
going into this, I got to say, I really don't think Rain can lose. I'm trying to imagine a situation. If he could play like that in every single game,
and I
don't even know if Maru wins a game, to be totally honest.
That's a possibility, but I think, like, for instance, on a map like this next map, Anaconda, it definitely gives you a lot more room to hurt the Protoss. Like, again, that map, I feel like it's maybe a little bit Protoss favored. I
think it's fair. Yeah.
It's so simple for Rain to do that turtley style there and never take any damage.
I mean, it fits Rain's playstyle, like you said. I mean, you just defend, and eventually you have all the pieces that you need in your army to attack. But we'll see. Anaconda, it's very good for drops. It's good for Warp Prism Harass, but drops come earlier on in a standard Protoss versus Terran, for the Terran to do medevac drops, excuse me. So we'll see if Maru can utilize that and maybe get him an edge, maybe pull through with a victory.
This is a good map for Maru to do something a little bit different, a little bit weird on. I don't know what that's going to be. Yeah, it is. It's definitely very different with being able to open up the back. There's a lot of different destructible rocks that can change the layout of the map. So
and it looks like we're going to go to, I believe, a quick commercial break. And when we come back here, we're going to go on to game number 2 here at GOMTV.net.